Hi everyone. Welcome to my video on how to use a decision matrix to select the best solution for solving a problem at work. My name is Sheila Okoth, and I help career professionals like you to boost your professional reputation and advance your career through business writing. Business writing is a powerful tool for problem solving, persuasion, influence, and critical thinking. Problem solving and decision making are valuable skills in most, if not all, businesses and organizations. For these skill sets to positively impact your career, you must identify the right problems to solve and then implement appropriate solutions to those problems. A decision matrix is a tool that helps you evaluate and prioritize a list of options. You first establish a list of criteria and then assess each option against the criteria. Stuart Pugh invented decision matrices. There are numerous names for a decision matrix that you may encounter. You may hear people refer to this tool as a Pugh matrix, problem selection matrix, solution matrix, decision grid, criteria rating form, criteria-based matrix, and so forth. It can be challenging to figure out the appropriate solution to implement when you have many competing factors to consider. Sometimes emotions may lead to biased decisions. A decision matrix can help reduce or eliminate bias in decision making because you add quantitative data to score each option you're considering based on multiple criteria. A decision matrix is a useful tool to use when you can only select and implement a single solution from a list of options. It is also valuable when you're considering several criteria to decide on a solution. The two common types of decision matrices are a simple or raw or unweighted decision matrix and a weighted matrix. A simple decision matrix is also known as a basic, raw, or unweighted decision matrix. It assumes that all the criteria that you use to evaluate your options have the same level of importance. You score each option based on the criteria you set, add up the scores for each option, then rank the options based on their respective total scores. The option that receives the highest score is the solution that you will implement. Let's work through an example to illustrate the steps for working through a simple decision matrix. Let's say you're trying to decide who among 3 individuals you should choose as your life partner. First, list the names of the individuals you're considering as column headings across the top row of your table. In our example, these would be persons A, M, and Z or Z. Next, list the criteria by which you will evaluate each person down the left column of the table. In our example, we have 10 criteria by which we will evaluate A, M, and Z. Be sure to select evaluation criteria that are appropriate to the solutions you're evaluating. Also, it's best to reduce the list of criteria to those that you or your team believes are most important. Then, choose a rating scale to score each option against the evaluation criteria. In our example, we'll use a scale of 1 to 3, where 1 is the least favorable score and 3 is the most favorable score. For example, if you're reviewing your options for their level of honesty, you would rate the least honest person as a 1 and the most honest as a 3. In the same way, when evaluating shared interests, you would give a 3 to a person with whom you share many interests and a 1 to the individual with whom you have few to no interests in common. It's important that your rating scale is consistent. Be sure to word your criteria and set your rating scale so that the high end of the scale, in our example, the number 3, is always the rating that would make you select that option. Next, score each option against each criterion and compare the total scores. Finally, add up the totals for each respective option. The option with the highest score will be your best choice. In our example, the winner is A. The advantage of a simple decision matrix is that it allows for a quick selection process. But there is also a significant drawback with the simple matrix: the fact that all the criteria are considered to be of equal importance. But this may not be the case for you or your team or organization. For instance, honesty and reliability in a partner may be more important to you than financial status and sense of humor. To account for this, you can use a weighted decision matrix. A weighted decision matrix is like a simple matrix, except that it incorporates weighting to reflect different degrees of importance of each criterion to the decision maker. Let's use the previous problem to illustrate how a weighted decision matrix works. As you did previously, list the names of the individuals you're considering as column headings across the top row. List the criteria by which you will evaluate each person down the left column of your table. Then, choose a rating scale to score each option against the evaluation criteria. Next, create a weight column. Apply weights to all criteria to indicate the relative importance of each one to you or your team. The more important a criterion is to you, the greater the weight you should give it. Because we have 10 criteria in our example, we will weight each criterion on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 means that the criterion is relatively unimportant in the final decision. 10 means that it is particularly important. If you are analyzing 5 criteria, for example, you could assign weights between 1 and 5. Then, create a second column under each option. You will use the first column to rate each criterion as you did in the simple decision matrix. Next, calculate the weighted scores by multiplying each of the option ratings by its corresponding weight. Write the resulting number in the second column under each option, and then sum up each of the choices. The option with the highest score will be your best choice. In our example, the winner is person Z. But recall that when we used the simple decision matrix to assess our options, person A emerged as the winning choice. Ideally, weighting your criteria should help you make a better decision. Even so, review your scores and decide if the rankings make sense to you. If an unexpected option emerges as the winner, the decision-making process may have worked and delivered a surprise result. But if your gut tells you that the outcome is incorrect, look for errors in the process. There might be a problem with how you weighted the criteria, meaning that certain factors are more important to you than you initially thought, or you may have made an error in rating the options. A decision matrix enables you to apply some objectivity to very subjective criteria and options. This tool is useful for reducing or eliminating bias in decision making. However, if working through a decision matrix as a team, you might encounter a situation where your team cannot reach a consensus about the weights to assign to each criterion. You may have to use a group voting technique, such as multi-voting, to decide on the weights. Also, you may find that even after your team concurs with the weighting, they may not all be happy with the final scores. Therefore, it's important for everyone involved to critically determine the evaluation criteria and their relative importance. Here are 8 tips for using decision matrices. 1. If you're working through a decision matrix as a team, Be sure to hide the columns with the weighted scores as well as the row that has the total score as you tally them up. This reduces the temptation to skew the results based on preference for certain options. 2. List viable options only. Don't list a non-starter that just won't make sense to implement for financial, logistical, or other reasons. You don't want to end up with a winning option that you cannot implement for reasons outside of the decision matrix process. 3. Make sure you act on the output from the decision matrix process. Otherwise, this exercise is a waste of your time. 4. If your team chooses to use the weighted scoring model, it's crucial to have consensus and be consistent in assigning weightings for criteria and scores for each option. A business, for example, may choose to assign greater weight to projects that have higher business value or that will impact the customer experience more positively. 5. Include a key or a legend that guides those who review your decision matrix to understand how the scoring works. This will also help to jog your memory when you review the matrix in the future. 6. You may choose to shorten an exceedingly long list of options or criteria using a tool such as list reduction or the multi-voting technique. Having fewer criteria makes the prioritization process easier and less time-consuming. But also consider that leaving some criteria out might lead you to select a less than ideal option or even a non-starter because of influencing factors that you should have accounted for in your decision matrix. 7. If individuals on the team assign different ratings to the same criterion, discuss until the team arrives at a consensus. Avoid averaging the ratings or voting for the most popular one. 8. You could choose to calculate both the unweighted and weighted scores for your options, as we did in our example scenario, and then use the outcomes to guide you towards a final decision. Regardless of whether you're making decisions for your organization, for your team, or even for yourself, a decision matrix can be a handy tool to learn and use. For example, you may use a decision matrix to decide which car to buy by evaluating your options based on criteria such as cost, reliability, performance, and fuel economy. You could also use a decision matrix to decide which supplier to select for your business by evaluating your options based on criteria such as price, length of contract, level of service, and reliability. And you may use a decision matrix to decide where to invest your money by evaluating your options based on criteria such as rates of return, your risk tolerance, diversification, and market volatility. A decision matrix is a powerful quantitative tool that helps you evaluate and objectively decide among several similar options. The tool ensures that you have considered all factors that are important to you before you select an option. By extensively evaluating your choices and quantifying the process, you will reduce and, in many cases, remove emotion and guesswork from the decision process. I hope you have enjoyed this video and found the information helpful. A decision matrix is one great way to decide which solution to implement when you're choosing from numerous viable options. Furthermore, decision making is a great skill to possess if you would like to advance in your career. And one last thing. Are you interested in learning how you can boost your professional reputation at work? If so, click the link in the description box below to download my free ebook in which I share 7 powerful ways to exercise your influence at work through your emails, presentations, memos, letters, and other business documents. Thank you for watching.